Senator for Queensland and leader of Pauline Hanson's One Nation. It is Pauline Hanson. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Mike. Very well, thank you.
There's a couple of things that I wanted to discuss with you. Your story about we have to act now for young people caught my attention. And the information I get from young people is just anecdotal. But the old idea that what we used to call the left is where the young people go, I don't think that's necessarily the case anymore. They seem to me to be more concerned about can they get a decent job, the fact that they probably need to win the lottery, as some of them have said to me, to own a house. That's really more on their mind than anything else, as near as I can tell. How do you see it?
Yeah, I see it the same way. I think the cost of living, the fact is that a lot of the young ones are still living with their parents because they can't afford to get out and pay the rent. So that irritates them because they still feel they're grown-up adults, but they can't stand on their own 2 feet. Our whole system has changed since, when we were kids and growing up in this country, so many opportunities and jobs and availability. But the cost of living has been driven by government policy. Have no doubt about that, everyone listening. It's through government legislation and policy that has actually driven up the cost of living, and especially with all this climate change, where we're paying out more expenses for it, the overspend, the government waste of monies. That means they haven't got money to spend on necessary services for the public. And, so the young ones, they're staying home more. The government, under the Albanese government, 1 year they brought in nearly 750,000 people. The huge impact that has on our housing, of course, you've got to have rental accommodation. Rents are going up, housing accommodation. We're around about 650,000 houses short at that time just to provide housing for the Australian people. So this is why the rents have gone up, supply and demand, Mike, that's the way it works. But also people have had to put up the rents because the cost of mortgages at that time, and you had the increase in the interest rates. Plus you've got increases through councils. They put up their rates because they can't afford to run their councils. So rates went up, cost of maintenance, building materials. They increased in the building materials by 20% at least. So all this has gone up. This is why the increased cost.
And that makes it so difficult for young people to get the house they want and what used to be called the Australian dream. But tell me this, why do you think the government persists with these enormous levels of immigration when we don't have the housing, we don't have the resources and infrastructure to cope with whether it's hospitals or schools or roads or public transport, whatever. We just are way behind on all that, and yet the government keeps on bringing in these massive numbers of immigrants. Why do you think?
Yeah. See, what we have is classified as our productivity is determined by the gross domestic product. So that sort of determines the wealth of every individual in Australia. And the government has been bringing in more migrants because the GDP is going up. So it's not good for productivity in Australia. So they're bringing more migrants. So the more migrants they bring in, they're actually going to buy more product. Okay, so you've got a turnover in the economy. So they bring in more people, and then there's another reason also. So it helps prop up the economy. But it's a Ponzi scheme. Then they say, oh, well, we need more people in the country working, paying more taxes, therefore to provide for the ageing population, the baby boomers that are now going into age, pension age. So we need people to pay for that. But it's a Ponzi scheme. So the more people bring in, those ones are going to get aged, and so you're going to have the same thing. Another thing is you've got people out there who want a bigger population because they're making money out of it.
Yeah.
So you've got the big companies like might be Harvey Normans and Good Guys, those people, Coles, Woolies, all these people, because they're going to sell more product. They don't care if you've got to line up and wait months to get in to see a doctor or a specialist or the dentist or anything like that, or waiting to get into the hospital system for that critical operation that you need for quality of life. Because they've got the money to go and see whoever they want to and pay for it. But the average person out there can't. So your lifestyle means absolutely nothing to them. And what we've become in Australia is we've got rid of the middle class. So what's happening is those people that are well-to-do, they're getting richer, and living a good quality life. And then we've got the people getting poorer, so we're losing the middle-class person. And it's either, that's how it's going to be in the future. You're going to have to be well-to-do, rich, or you're going to be poor. And it's a shame where we're headed.
When it comes to making a difference, I would think that perhaps young people could reinvent the Liberal Party. But as I understand it, it's not necessarily a plus if you're a young person who wants to join the Liberal Party if you've had any association with Pauline Hanson.
Well, I'll tell you this story, Mike. Liberal Party, the young ones that are in the Liberal Party now, it's around about 19%. It's not very much at all. They get the people into the Liberal Party about 65 plus. That's where most of their support comes from. But this young fellow contacted my office. He said, I actually went to join the Liberal Party anyway. He said they did a search on me, found there was a picture of myself with Pauline Hanson. They refused to have me. And that's how stupid they are. As if I'm on the opposite side of the fence to them with policies and direction. They pick up a lot of my policies. They agree with me on a lot of things, and to have that attitude, you don't do that to the young ones. I've actually launched Young One Nation this year, and it's going extremely well. I've starting up branches across the country now, so give people that democracy to get involved. We're going to run for council elections now as well with One Nation. I want the people to actually then choose their own candidates, get behind them, support them. So that's something that we're actually doing at the moment, Mike. I want to bring people along the journey. I want to educate people about politics. I want to educate them about the voting system and how it works. I want to empower the people so they know who they're voting for, why they should be voting for them, and to get involved, because this country is going down the drain so quickly that your quality of life and standards of living is disappearing so quickly, and the young ones have been brainwashed in the educational system. They don't understand anything, but it's not even young ones. I've spoken to people in their 50s and 60s and 70s have no idea how the whole system works, how the voting system works. It's a crying shame.
What do you think about Susan Ley? How do you think she's going? She's got the job now as leader of the party. I don't have a lot of confidence in her, especially when she gave that speech in the Liberal Party. They didn't lead the way with the Voice vote, and I was the first one to come out and say oppose the Voice, followed by the Nats 2 weeks later. The Libs were about 4 or 5 months down the track. Now, they opposed the Voice, and yet she gets up to open her speech and says she wants to acknowledge welcome to country, right? The traditional owners of the land. That itself is divisive. My personal opinion, I don't think she'll be there as leader of the Liberal Party before the next election. I think she'll be overthrown by someone else. I don't think she's, how long's it been? May the 3rd. What have you heard from her counteracting the Prime Minister on anything that he said? I don't see anything about her. All she is complaining about the Liberal Party and the factions and the split that they had with the Nats. That's not what the people are interested in. Deal with the issues and hold the government to account and start, making some noise, say something. So you don't think that Susan Ley will make it to the next election?
No, I don't. I think that they will see. I don't see her as the one leading the Liberal Party to the next election. I think there will be there is problems within the Liberal Party National Party. And I think that will blow up more so. And you still see the problems that are happening in the States. The Liberal Party are in disarray pretty much across the country. I don't believe they're getting their act together. I think they've drifted away from the conservative values that Menzies formed the Liberal Party under. And they need to get back to the basics of conservatism and standing up for, people out there, small business, lower taxes and these sort of things that people need and want to hear, and that representation. But anyway, Mike, I'm here. My party's growing. We increased our vote. I've now got 4 senators on the federal parliament floor, and I'm going to keep pushing back all the time, and I will actually hold the government to account whenever we possibly can.
Pauline, I appreciate you coming on the program today. Thank you for your time and comments.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on. Take care.
You too. That's Pauline Hanson, Senator for Queensland, of course, and leader of Pauline Hanson's One Nation.